everybody, and welcome to the Macabre Podcast Universe.
I'm Jordan.
My name is Micah.
We're here to prove people wrong when they say
Sequels are never better than the originals.
this is a very serious episode.
This is so serious. We had to bring our two most serious and credentialed guest hosts to the podcast. Of course, we have Jeremy and Dan Eden returning to talk about Lethal Weapon 4. Hello, boys.
Hello. Serious and credentialed, neither of which described Dan or myself. Dan perhaps a little credentialed, but I have a film I'm just
degree.
A schlub.
I mean, you guys have both come out with movies, so...
And a master's in Lethal Weapon. So let's do this.
Well, we need you guys at this point because I can't do it anymore.
Well, let me set the table, and for our listeners, you're already going to know this. I grew up with Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, more specifically. I rarely watched 3 and 4. When watching this movie, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've only seen this one time ever. But Jordan was not as... You didn't grow up with it.
Did not grow up with them. Watched the first two when you had given me a big stack of movies to watch, like... a million years ago now.
Yeah.
And I think the third and fourth are my first times. And the third one completely broke my spirit.
Yeah.
And then while watching the fourth one, I said, should this be it? And is this it for the podcast?
and so this was a bit surprising to me because this is a podcast where we've covered, Dead Men Tell No Tales and Hannibal Rising. And this was the movie that broke Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh man.
For me, that's not necessarily my experience with any of the Lethal Weapons. Love 1 and 2. 3, I think, is pretty tough.
2 is really good. I liked 2.
And then 4, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
If nothing else, none of these movies are not entertaining. That's what I say. If this is your worst, it's a lot better than a lot out there. As far as there's enough in there to enjoy. But if you guys want to talk about your Lethal Weapon, please.
Just before we do, I want to make one comment, and that is that I have heard it often enough that I am so interested in what the full list of titles in this elusive stack of DVDs that you received. I've heard of it so many times that I'm like, I want to know what this full list is.
Okay,
what was in this stack?
I know that.
So this is when we were... Well, actually, we weren't even
friends.
dating yet. And
I
was
liked you so much that you gave me a stack of movies I had never seen. And I was like, I will watch all of them if this means he will like me. Wow. To which we probably didn't get together for another 3 years. A little snapshot into our relationship. I remember one of them was Quigley Down Under.
Yeah, definitely.
And
right on.
That's the one that's not with Mel Gibson?
No, you're thinking of Maverick, which was also in the pile.
Maverick was also in
Selleck, baby. Selleck. Quigley.
And then I'm kind of blanking on what else was in there. Probably an Oceans movie that I hadn't seen.
I'm sure I threw in the Oceans.
Yeah.
I feel like you mentioned, I feel like the last time I heard it was in the Oceans series, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I want to know what's in this stack. And now I just heard it again. I'm like, this stack, it keeps coming back to me.
It was a big stack.
You would have seen Braveheart by then, I'm sure.
Yes.
Because this was a lot of just the movies my dad imparted to me. So it was a lot of that. Definitely Silverado was in that.
I do not remember watching that movie. Maybe...
I don't think you watched it, but I put it in the pile.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, Silverado's good. What else? I'll have to go to my parents' house and look through
that actually
the
would
stack.
be the way to do it.
Because we would be able to go, okay, it was that one and that one and that one, A lot of Westerns, I'm realizing.
Yeah. I think that we sat at your house on the floor, and anyone I said no to, you pulled out. That's probably what happened.
That's so insane. How did I land you?
I don't know.
But yeah, that's the elusive stack, and there will be more for in the future, listeners, on the elusive stack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure
somebody out there keep the data, keep a list going,
please.
I'm sure in Maverick, Mel had an Australian accent.
Yeah,
just like
probably.
in these movies.
Yeah, oh.
And just like in all movies.
So here's something I have to ask you guys. I keep calling you boys because I just
I know we're both
colloquially. I refer to you as we got the boys back. Because I get so excited. It's like a slumber
That's okay.
party when you guys.
Our dad,
on.
even into our 30s, our dad can do. I got the boys are over here. Like, what?
Okay, but from this episode on, the men are on the podcast.
Yes.
So, we're watching this movie, and setting aside the anti-Semitism and all of the bad Mel Gibson stuff, just looking at the career, used to be a big hit. Especially, I think he's a guy's guy as far as movies go. And when I grew up, I thought he was American, and then rewatching these movies, I'm like, oh my gosh, has he ever had an American accent? Is my question to you, because I haven't watched any other movies since watching Lethal Weapon. Is he ever nailed the American accent?
I mean, I don't hear the Australian as much as you guys, I guess.
This
but
one
maybe
was
that's
the
just
best one. He did the best job in this fourth one.
Yeah, it's true.
But the first one, actually the first two, it's perplexing.
I thought that they would have just said he was like from Australia because he breaks so often.
There's a couple of weird line deliveries in the first one, I know, and this. I also, the third one is the one that I've seen the least. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it worked for me, but like, I also am not. I can't tell you how many Mel Gibson movies I've seen. Honestly, this is probably the one I've seen second most, next to the first Lethal Weapon movie.
Okay.
Dan, your opinion?
Oh, yeah.
He was shaking his head. I thought he was coming in.
I'm just like, yep. To be honest with you, I'm kind of with Jer. I kind of feel stupid saying this, but like, I never, even today, I watch his movies and I'm like, yeah, he's okay. It's fine. It's American. Like, I don't really hear much Australian.
Wow.
We'd have to go like beat by beat together, which sounds amazing. We should all do that. We should schedule an afternoon and we should go beat by beat and we should listen to the accent slipping out in each line delivery. I think that'd be fun. What do you guys think?
You can have fun doing that.
Jordan will not be watching these movies ever again.
Please,
oh
no.
Man, let's do a Lethal Weapon minute where each episode is devoted to just 1 minute of the movie, like that Star Wars minute podcast. Let's do that.
Sure.
Let's watch the Fox series starring Damon Wayans and
there we go.
And a redneck Johnny Depp, who was then replaced by Sean William Scott.
That's right. Stifler is, to me, Mel Gibson's analog, like generationally. You've got, but seriously, like I feel kind of silly saying this because the accent really never really crept out like too much for me. Like there's way more egregious examples in other movies, but like that's neither here nor there.
Like I can hear Cary Elwes trying really hard when he tries to do an American accent, but I don't know.
Oh sure,
it feels much more natural for Mel. But I guess I don't know. In my opinion, and I don't know because I'm American, but it seems like an Australian would probably have an easier time doing an American accent than an English person, or definitely an Irish or Scottish person.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, and I think sometimes people go too over the top with accents. I mean, he is Riggs, and no one else can be Riggs except maybe like Glenn Howerton, for example, or maybe
who
Rob
really
McElhenney,
plays up the Australian in his performance as Mel. That I did notice in It's Always Sunny.
Well, just so that and for the listeners, tomorrow, the Saturday after this, we will be coming out with our episode on Lethal Weapon 5, 6, and 7. So, we will be covering those. But tell us about your Lethal Weapon experience, please.
Okay, we saw the movie in 1998 when it first hit theaters. There was actually a lot of buzz around it. I remember I was 10 years old, so seeing an R-rated movie in the theater especially was a huge deal. And I remember, like, to me, as far as I was concerned, the buzz was that it was good. And the reason was because my father's and his friends who like caught it before him were talking about how much they loved it. So really you're just like, oh, so it's unanimously loved by the world because this boomer's friend really liked it when you're a kid. But like really it's just like I was so excited to just be there and the experience of seeing it. But like honestly, watching it as a 35-year-old compared to when I was 10, like it appeals to the 10-year-old way more than the 35-year-old. Like that's the age to see this movie, you know? Like it really, like it's stupid and like unapologetically.
I do believe that it was the first like R-rated movie that our dad took us to. There weren't many that eventually when we became older teenagers, but like younger kids like that, they're like, I remember he took us to this. And then like when I was 14, he took me and a group of my friends. And I don't know if Dan, you were there too for Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah, it was your birthday. I remember this one girl who was a friend of Mom's friend had to tag along. She was like a daughter. She used to like try to set us up like with friends who were females, like to just kind of mix it in. And we didn't even know this girl. We're like, all right, we're all gonna go see a movie.
We knew the drill by that point too, so it was just like, all right, like fine, you're here, but like you. We're gonna do our thing. We didn't even talk
to her. Yeah, it was kind of awkward.
But like, it's my mom's fault for even trying. And like at that point, it was like, oh come on, I've got a very specific group here, and I'm not interested in you introducing this female to the group.
Yeah.
In my sausage party here at Not Another Teen Movie. Yeah. But no, I was there for that. I had a great time at that. Like basically just going to the movies at that young of an age is amazing, right?
Totally.
Oh yeah. It's hard to find a bad one when you're that young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like honestly, I'm watching all of the Despicable Me movies right now with my older boy, and he's just like all of them are like, oh, it's great. They're all, and I'm like, man, nothing is bad to you, is it?
But my wife Katie, sorry, she loves this movie. Like her family, like they grew up on like the sort of like Rush Hour, like fun, stupid, like semi-racist action comedies of yesteryear, and they ate it up, and so did we. Like, admittedly, and it's not about that unsavory aspect. It's just about how stupidly fun they were at the time, because Hollywood had the budget and they weren't so stingy about things, and it wasn't all digitized. And I know I'm sounding like an old man, but there it is. Yeah. It's mostly practical. Sorry. I'm sure you got the facts. You got the backstory.
Yeah.
Right?
You wanna jump into who made it and how?
Sure. Yeah.
So once again, we have Richard Donner returning to direct. He did all four. The screenplay is by Channing Gibson, who worked on Saint Elsewhere, NYPD Blue, and Walking Tall. The story is by Jonathan Lemkin, who did 21 Jump Street Show, Red Planet, Devil's Advocate, and then this is for you, Dad, listening. He wrote a script for Consent to Kill, the Vince Flynn book, and they're currently shopping it around, Dad. So Get excited. Alfred Goh and Miles Millar are also on the story, and they worked on Spider-Man 2, the upcoming Beetlejuice, and Wednesday, and they co-created, they created Smallville. Cinematography is by
Andrei
Bartkowiak.
That's my guess.
Who did Speed. So you can check out our Patreon episode on Speed to hear more about him if you want to know the rest of his credits. What a weird
plug. You got to sign up for Patreon.
Music is again by Clapton, Kamen, and Sanborn. The movie comes out July 10th, 1998. The Eden Boys at that time are sitting there in the theater. Men now.
That's right.
$140 million budget. A $130 million return domestically, but $285 worldwide. I think that's just fine. And
not as much as the others, though. Right?
I didn't compare.
Okay.
I didn't compare.
Second most successful Lethal Weapon movie, apparently.
Wow. Okay.
3 surpassed 300 worldwide, and this was like, what, 285?
Unbelievable. 3.
So very successful.
Right?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Isn't it insane, the world that we live in and have lived in?
It really is.
Okay, so the producer, Joel Silver, buys this spec script, which let me know when you guys know which movie this actually becomes. And he's hoping... That you already know. Okay, that this.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Okay, so he gets a spec script, and he wants them to rewrite it into Lethal Weapon 4. It's written by Jonathan Hensley, and it's about this guy running around trying to stop these bombs around the city. Do you know what movie that is, Jeremy? That it becomes?
No, because I'm a parent now, so if there's not minions in the movie, it's not even in my memory bank right now.
Well, maybe that was a bad description, but he's getting phone calls and he's running around with Sam Jackson.
It sounds like Die Hard with a Vengeance, my favorite movie starring the Riddler.
Yeah, that is the movie the original attempt to make this movie becomes Die Hard with a Vengeance, which I think. That's generally a favorably viewed movie, right? People like Die Hard 3.
Except for the unsavory racism. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. The sign he wears, and it's like against his will, because Simon says he has to do that part, and, look it up, but I don't want to talk about it. But everything else about that movie is a lot of fun. I like Die Hard with a Vengeance. Probably a lot more than 2.
Yeah.
2 is ugh. Like I rewatched that. That's pretty bad. Have you guys watched 2 recently?
I don't know if I've ever seen 2.
Not in years. Oh, we maybe
airport?
gave you Die Hard.
I don't think
so
I don't.
boring.
I've only seen Die Hard 1, and then the one with
Live Free or
Justin
Die Hard.
Long.
Number 4. Yeah.
I would even put Live Free over 2. That's how
Wow.
much I don't like 2. Yeah.
Okay.
See, Live Free came out at a perfect time for our age group that it was
I saw
this
that movie
movie
so
rocks.
many times.
And I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, that's a good one, right?
Oh, there's no way. I saw it so many times. though.
They're all just
It's
nodding their heads.
I caught it in the theater, and I really dug Live Free or Die Hard. I think I was 16, 17 at the time, and now me and my wife, we watch it every 4th of July weekend. Live Free, because it's a 4th of July movie, so it's not great, but it's there's not many 4th of July movies, so
Better or worse than Labor Day?
Labor Day.
How dare you besmirch Labor Day, Micah?
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Labor Day is spectacular.
Look,
check out our Labor Day special, our first annual. We're gonna do it every year, actually.
I remember.
We did it on the Patreon, which is now defunct, so it'll come to the main feed eventually. Yeah.
Probably this coming Labor Day.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you'll release episode. And then you'll release the second annual in conjunction. And sorry.
We'll have 2 in our back pocket because we're gonna record it for a year before it's released. That's gonna be, and we plan on doing a commentary. My wife and I, a commentary track of Labor Day. That's our second annual Labor Day special. No one will listen to that, but it'll be fun to do.
Where does it take place?
Where does it take place? Somewhere in the South. I think.
Hearts and Souls.
You should definitely take a trip there for one of the
to the shooting location. I think it was in Georgia. So
head down to
road trip.
Yeah.
There we go.
But I should probably talk about Lethal Weapon 4.
Yeah.
So then one of the producers, Lemon, hired... Oh, no. Lemon was hired to write Lethal Weapon 4, while another writer would start working on Lethal Weapon 5, and they would shoot the movies back to back, or they would just shoot the best parts of both scripts.
What?
They weren't sure what they were going to do at that point.
Okay.
Which is the story of these Lethal Weapon movies. They just take scripts and just write them and write them and write them and write them and write them, and then the movie comes out the following week. Mm-hmm. It's just it's crazy. So Jeffrey Boehm is brought in to rewrite, and his first draft was completed in 1995, and it's focusing on Riggs and Murtaugh fighting neo-Nazi survivalists committing terrorist attacks in L.A., including using a Stinger missile to attempt to shoot down a jet carrying the Los Angeles Lakers.
Awesome.
I mean, I want to see that movie.
Much more than this underground Chinese organization printing their own money, not even American currency, to fraud their own nation, bringing in people to do it. Made no sense.
Those poor Lakers are going to be up in the air, terrified. They're going to get shot down. Oh man.
So during all of that, Warner Brothers is like, you know what? That's a cool idea and all, but it's time to tackle the Chinese triads. And so they are like, let's do it. So like the producers come down from on high and say, we got to make a movie about the Chinese triads.
People are clamoring for it.
I know.
Absolutely.
And my favorite element is the fact that, because we didn't get this enough in the 90s, is counterfeit money. Action movies and counterfeit money, two things that did not go hand in hand in the 90s more often than not.
But also the immigrant slave trade.
Yeah.
So there's also counterfeiting, immigrant slave trade.
So they got
There's a lot going on.
They had an immigrant slave trade going on, and they had some of those people making fraudulent money in their own native currency.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what
to like buy their own freedom.
So what are you missing, Jordan?
I guess not much.
You did about as much detective work as Riggs and Murtaugh do in this movie.
Dude, we'll get there. We need to talk about the real heroes of this movie. Well, that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, that's a tease. To get
I know
you
who you're
through
talking about. I already know.
Of course.
I'm on your side. I know the heroes of this movie.
I think here. The real heroes of this movie.
Think there's two. I'll give you a hint. Two real
One
heroes
of them
in this movie.
looks a lot like Travis Tritt, if you know who that is.
Not a clue.
The other, I only know him because of Blues Brothers 2000. Jer's insane reference points.
Jer's obscure references. No, one of them looks like he's wearing guy liner. He's got beautiful mane. The other one is just a very savvy Chinese American, and it's the detective guys. I just gave it away.
The Jason Momoa character and the other guy.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. The one of them literally does not have a name.
Yes.
Like he does not have a name, and then the other one whose name we don't even know. But they're the ones who actually solve the case in this movie. I know I'm getting ahead, but they're the unsung heroes of this movie.
That's true.
Murtaugh and Riggs get in on this late, and then these guys are like, "Oh, you guys have information about that? We've been working on this for 10 years. Come help us."
Well,
you know how they solve the case? They go, it's basically, oh, you didn't tell me that. Here's the answer.
Exactly. Like, oh, you just phrased it wrong, you idiot. Like, all you had to do is just say it differently. We would have been all like, because he says 10-1, and then he says 20-1. I know where the hongs. Like, he's just on it. Like at that point in the movie, and these idiots are running around town blowing everything up. Shooting up restaurant fish tanks. It's insane.
I was baffled by how little detective work was actually done in this movie. Like, insanely little.
But that was the last movie. We get 3/4 through the movie, and they're not even on a case. And then they find out that people are stealing guns that have been confiscated, but they're not even on that case. No,
you're forgetting that Riggs keeps turning and witnessing crimes, Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they solve the case. He always turns and he goes, oh, there's something going on over there.
I remember nothing about 3 except for dog biscuits, onions, and bad ponytail, and their traffic cops at one point, I think.
Yep. You don't remember the scene where Mel Gibson, there's a Rottweiler that's going to sick him.
That's right. And
Mel Gibson's like, I'll be a dog. And it's not played for laughs.
No.
He's like, I'm your dog friend.
What I remember is, if we're talking the trilogy, if we're even excluding this, if this is like Indiana Jones and we're just excluding Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, just get those out of the way. I remember...
This movie is mounds better than 3. I will put that on record.
All right. Okay. Right on. Because I am pro 4. Yeah. But what I remember from the trilogy is bookended, correct me if I'm wrong, bookended Danny Glover in the bathtub and his family coming in and him butt naked, and there's nothing wrong with a whole family just crowded around him. In 3 it's retirement, in 1 it's retirement, 3 it's birthday.
I think 1 it's birthday, 3 it's retirement.
Yeah,
but he doesn't retire.
But he chooses not to retire because his friend is suicidal, so he has to stay there. He's holding him hostage.
Roger, I still have problems. I can't. Don't quit, Roger.
I need to how much did you guys talk about Danny Glover's openness of his nudity with his family in this film
we
franchise?
covered it. We talked about it.
We did cover it, and we did think it's funny that in the third movie, if
his
you
wife
recall,
puts a little towel.
yeah, she takes a hand towel and sets it there.
But not in the first movie. And there aren't a lot of bubbles in that bathtub.
It's like, come on, like he's just trying to get some peace and quiet. I guess that's what's going on in the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Like he just can't get a minute to himself, guys.
And when he does, he gets stuck on the toilet for overnight. So
that's okay. That's another thing. If we're going over the franchise, how many times does his house get destroyed in these movies? In one,
I think all but
them driven
this
through
one too.
The living room.
Yeah.
In
2, house blows up.
Toilet bomb, right?
Yeah.
And
3
then
is the fire. No, that
and
was
then
this
4.
movie.
Yeah, 4 is a fire. Does it get messed up in 3?
Doesn't
Well, 3, aren't they like building on his house?
Yes.
And then he uses the
like,
nail gun and
I do remember the
some
nail
of it
gun.
gets messed up.
Something
That's
like
right. 3 is so forgettable. Like 3 is really
because it's not even a
forgettable.
movie. It's just like, I don't even know what we covered it last week, but not far into the movie, I turned to Micah and I said, "Do you understand a word anybody's saying?"
Yeah, there's a weird like sound mixing thing with these movies where Danny Glover's always like, and then Riggs is like yelling so much that it's kind of hard to hear what he's like, especially when you're not trying to wake up your baby. You're like riding the remote back and forth with the explosions, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh,
What are
like
they saying. But also, I knew because we're not a subtitles family,
no,
so
proudly
we
unless
still,
it's a an international film.
of course, but. So even with this, we're not throwing on subtitles. I don't care enough to know, but I know that if I even had them on, I still wouldn't know what was happening.
Right. I think that's part of the stupid appeal of these movies. It's just like they're bebopping and scatting with their improv, like overlapping dialogue so much that it's just like doesn't even matter what they're saying. They're just bickering in the scenes mostly. I know exactly what you mean. It's just like there's a rhythm that they get to, and it doesn't even matter what they're saying, the content, But
see, the thing is, at least in the first one, it's kind of charming when they're actually doing detective work and discussing the case. Do you remember how much time they spend discussing it, thinking about it, going over different scenarios, reviewing footage and shit in his own house because he has a hunch that he saw something one time? And in this one, it's like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe there's this thing. Actually, it is that thing. Let me go do all the work for you. And then they're like, okay, let's go.
The great character moments and the procedural detective work of one. Like, I think of the shooting range scene where he goes, he literally says shit. Like, he jokingly says it because that's Shane Black dialogue, just classic. And then, this one is like a watered down imitation. It's not as clever. It's not as,
He's not even a good enough detective to trust his own instincts. He's just like, now, wait a minute. Now, his uncle was an artist, maybe an engraver. Never mind. That's a bad idea. And then Mel Gibson's like, no, wait. That's the one piece of work we've actually done this whole movie. And then they're like, let's go talk to those 2 guys who've done everything for us.
Yep.
The real heroes. Yeah.
Let's go talk to the real heroes
and
while we've been farting around.
So let me go back to production here. So they're like, got to be about the Chinese triads. And then Lemon is brought back in to write. And then they add Go and Millar. And then they bring in Channing Gibson to rewrite. I wrote rewrites galore. It's just like rewrite city on this thing. We talked about how in all 3 previous movies, it's been a ton of rewrites. It sounds like this movie was the absolute worst as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and it shows.
Clearly, Chris Rock is writing most of his own dialogue anyway, so
he's
I guess
testing out
sense.
like his next hour in this movie. He's like, I got a few jokes I want to try because these are going to be on my next DVD.
He's gonna pull me away from the stage. I gotta try this material.
Yeah.
I was wondering if what if Jerry Seinfeld got the same treatment in like the Die Hard series? Like he's a detective and they give him like 2 minutes to go off on like about airplane food, you know? I think that'd be great.
What's the deal with handcuffs? You know?
Like apropos of nothing. He just like might as well stand in front of a brick wall. It's just like in Loaded Weapon 1. I don't he just literally walks in front of it. Sorry. Yeah.
But so Channing Gibson would end up doing more work and revisions on this movie than all of his TV work combined.
Oh my gosh.
Production even started with only half of the script, and the ending was not written until it was finally time to film it. There was no Leo Getz or Butters in original script, and Channing Gibson had 3/4 of this done when Chris Rock is hired. And originally he is going to be homosexual, like they have the story in the movie. And then they changed it during filming, and that's why he never has any dialogue with his wife in the movie.
Yeah, they just mouth a couple things to each other.
It's crazy. And then they finished this movie less than 2 months. They finished filming less than 2 months before its release, so the editors just have to scramble.
Oh wow!
And then there's a ton on this, but we will get into that in the future when this happens, because I think it will. 11/15/2021, Gibson in talks to star and direct in Lethal Weapon 5. And if you look on IMDb, there's even a promo shot of the two guys in a cop car as old guys. Yeah, so I think Lethal Weapon 5 will happen, which as a kid, that was a dream of mine, that they would come back and do one more.
You'll hear announcement of that right after Beverly Hills Cop lands on Netflix, the Axel Foley.
Ooh, good call. What I saw today on just the wiki for Lethal Weapon 4 was two things I didn't know. One,
hey, I saw you over there.
Hey, man. Yeah,
you guys were the only two people there who had been there for so long.
Lethal Finale is the title, apparently, and Max is the one releasing it. That's what I read on the wiki. That's what I found out tonight. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's new.
I did find out that they said they had said it was going to go straight to Max, but I saw that the article that mentioned that was in 2021, which was before Zaslav, who is the worst, but does want movies to come out in theaters. So I think it'll be theatrical. I don't know why you would put this straight to streaming. Well, I don't know why you put anything straight to streaming, but that's a whole other conversation. Right? Yeah, I think if they keep
even
it
after all the crap he's done.
Oh yeah, Are you telling me that our dads are not going to be first in line for Lethal Weapon 5?
Well, I don't think my dad, because I did not grow up watching.
Well, okay, you're right. I guess me and my dad will be first in line.
Yeah, and you'll have to drag me along because of this podcast.
I think the franchise. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It definitely has a lot of gas left in the tank, and I think even despite like a lot of Mel Gibson movies being like straight to streaming or DVD, like Redbox titles, like usually I noticed Emil Hirsch is teamed up with him in like a few of these, or it just seems like again? It. The Girl Next Door, and he's also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as hairdresser guy, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
But but I think despite that, I do think there, like Lethal Weapon, the franchise, a lot of it is Gibson, but I think there's Glover, there's the action, there's the style, etc. But yeah, I think it'll be a hit.
Yeah, I mean a modest hit, but a hit nonetheless. You want to hit some actors? We could skip it. I mean, we're going to cover it as we go.
Please.
It really broke Jordan.
Yeah.
It's just odd because to me, I mean, I understand the complaints. I don't think this movie is, I don't think it's great. But there's enough like goofy stuff like in 3 where I'm like, I don't feel like it was a waste of time, but you're very much like this was Hannibal Rising to you.
Well, I think I was so mad by 3 that it was like if I have to watch anything else, there's just like I'm being unfair now because I hated 3 that much. You know
Fair
what I mean?
enough, yeah. Unfair enough.
Yeah. So I'll admit that I'm being unfair.
That's like me going into Mean Girls, the new
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Wow, you watched it.
I was like, well, this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like not even like giving an inch to the poor movie. It was just like, let's just sing some songs for you, Dan. I'm like, no, this is stupid. Like just such an easy paycheck for Tina Fey. Seriously, if you watch it, you will see why. Like, what an easy paycheck.
Gosh.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm done.
It's so odd. I don't know what other examples there are of this, but there is this. I don't know if there's any others, but you have Mean Girls, which is fantastic, unbelievable movie. And then they're like, hey, let's make it a Broadway play. Okay, that happens all the time. And then they say, let's adapt the Broadway play that the movie's based into a movie.
Matilda.
Producers did it.
But Matilda's based on a book.
That's true.
Back in 2005.
But then it became a movie, and then it became a musical, and then they put a musical movie on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Recently. Like last year or something
true.
like that.
And I've heard that one's cute and fun.
Okay.
But it's just it's a weird thing because it's kind of like, well, why don't I just watch like a filmed on Broadway or just watch the movie that's good? I don't know. Sometimes it's strange to me.
I hear you.
I kind of agree, because in the case of I don't think they'll ever do it, but like if they ever turned Hamilton into like a theatrically shot film, it's like, what's the point? You've got a perfectly fine performance that was captured very well, so why not just go with that?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what makes it strange to me is like when you don't get the original, like at least the Broadway cast to do the producers. With the producers, it made sense. You had like 2 movie stars who do the show on Broadway, and then of course they're going to turn that into a movie. Yeah. But then, everybody just repeats that, and they occasionally just recast. It's like, why are you doing that?
Except for the most recent at Dear Evan Hansen, when they got the guy who was on Broadway, and they tried to convince us that he was
That's true.
young enough to be in high school.
The opposite.
But Caitlin and I were like having a discussion of just like, why get Ariana Grande for Wicked and not just cast why not just have them do it?
Adele
but then we're like, I guess they might be a little aged talented.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I know.
It's strange. Yeah, and but I mean, I get adapting a show to a movie, but it's weird that the pipeline of movie to show to movie is very strange to me.
It's weird. Yeah, I will agree with you there. And I'm not gonna digress any further. Let's Lethal Weapon.
Okay, well, let's get into the plot of this movie. Now, I don't know what you're gonna say, Jordan, but when this, oh man, Mom, put the baby in. Oh, that's hard to concentrate when you hear that baby crying.
Yeah,
but she's got her. It's fine. Grandma's got her. So
I know the feeling.
When this movie started, I was kind of like, okay, Lethal Weapon 4, I don't remember anything from this movie. It's going to suck, but whatever. And then this first scene starts with this guy in like this Iron Man outfit, and he's shooting flames and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go on record. I thought this scene was genuinely very good, and I enjoyed the scene a lot. Fun. I thought the action was great. I thought the character moments were cool, and the underwear prank is hilarious. That's classic Riggs.
My big question about this scene was like, is that a gasoline tanker truck that is just parked outside of a gas station, like completely full? Why is that truck there even?
Good question.
Well,
and then the idea of this
it, right?
armored man in a flamethrower was like this. We've come a long way from Amanda Hunsaker jumping out of a building, haven't we?
They loved this. Apparently, like they loved this scene so much that they used like the majority of it in the trailer, because I rewatched the trailer before watching it, and I'm like, whoa, like it's basically all there. It's just a condensed version of it. Like before you know it, he's down to his underwear. He's doing the whole thing. But Here's what's interesting about this opening is it's technically a flashback, and the only reason it is because of the newspaper article that is posted on a cubicle later when he says, that was 1 year ago. It's like, why? Why wasn't it like 2 weeks ago?
Because you need to...
The movie...
Oh, what?
You need to flash forward the pregnancy to to the very end of the term.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
Yeah, because we find out in the scene that Lorna's pregnant.
Yep.
And Murtaugh's daughter's pregnant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you got, and they're giving so much exposition while one of the craziest, most fucked up things is happening outside in the rain.
It is
this Iron Man guy.
It is the most bizarre thing that they have done yet, as far as I can remember. And they're both like, we should probably talk about our real serious shit right now, Ron.
The toilet bomb, I guess, is like a close second to this Iron Man fire guy, who is listening to Fire in the Hole by Gary Cherone, Van Halen, which is easily VH's best era, 1996 to 1999. Forget Diamond Dave, forget your Sammy Hagar. It's all about Gary Cherone. That's my bit. Sorry.
It's funny. I was very into Van Halen as a kid. I listened to the greatest hits all the time, and I don't even think I knew until this year that there was a third singer. That's how much it is not celebrated.
I without digressing too much, I like to go for like let's just say the One Hot Minutes by the Red Hot Chili Peppers of the real black sheeps. So usually that's my introduction to a band too. Like their worst, just like shitty, like odd man out singer, and then I'm like, oh, it can only be better from here. But easily the best era of Van Halen's career, 1996 to 1999.
That's so
I
good.
feel like this was a missed opportunity tone setting wise. I understand that they had to get through some exposition, but when the camera cut to it was a Walkman, right? He turned it on and the song started, and it felt like it should have been a a la James Gunn moment where the song really gets going, and then Riggs and Murtaugh do their thing, and it's
right.
Had they done that yet in movies though? I don't know if anyone had thought to do that yet.
I feel like today that's what would have happened.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Because then it would cut back to them, and the song would go away, and it's like, but the song was like setting a tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to pull an example, Micah, maybe Face Off when the kid listens to Somewhere Over the Rainbow on his Walkman during a shootout. At first, it's diegetic, and then it becomes non-diegetic during the shootout. That was 97, but I'm sure there's something before that.
Yeah. It's such a great trick.
Yeah, it is. I agree, definitely. Mm-hmm.
So they fight this Iron Man, which it sounds like we all agree is actually a great scene and doesn't really have any issues. And then they go to the second great scene that doesn't have any issues, where they're all on a boat, and I think they're on a stakeout, and they have a shark inexplicably in the boat.
I don't know, because why would they take Leo Getz with them?
I honestly think it's just three old dudes farting around on a boat in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
There's nothing around them. It's just the black of night, and they're just dicking around on a boat.
With a shark.
I don't get the shark thing. What is that?
I think they were fishing. They were night fishing, and Leo caught a shark.
I think it's as simple as
that.
A big
darn shark. Yeah.
It's just so odd. And right away you're like, oh boy. Uh-oh.
Wait, here's my question. Why if you see that you have a shark on the line when you're reeling it in, why do you bring it all the way into the boat? Why don't you just say, all right, nope, never mind.
You want to catch it. You want to mount it on your wall.
They're terrified
proudly.
of it the whole time.
That's
or at least he is.
You think the guys who have the bear heads weren't terrified before they shot the bear, presumably at point blank range?
Wow, I really can't argue with that.
Not point blank, but I always thought that would be an interesting, a really tragically interesting image.
It's close enough that the bear and you can look each other in the eye before you
really feel the sweat. Do bears sweat? Feel the sweat off the bear's brow on the barrel of your gun. No, I don't condone that. I'm weird and twisted. Sorry.
All right, so shark on boat, and I thought this was a perfect example of, we all remember Fonz from Happy Days jumping the shark. And that's a classic moment that people reference as, when something gets bad and it's the point of no return.
So you're waiting till the fourth movie to make that statement.
Well, I am just saying that in this movie, they literally have a shark on board and it chases Leo. And I'm like, this is jumping the shark. And the movie itself never really gets any better for me from this point on.
How dare you?
So
I can't even say that with a straight face.
So they're making fun of Leo for this, and then he has a gun and they throw his gun overboard. And then not a second later, a giant ship, like a cargo ship, goes by, and they're just Riggs, I think he did this in the last movie a couple times, but in this one in particular, he's like, I'm gonna shoot far away range with my handgun.
Well, we have established that he can hit a smiley face from
care.
100 yards.
And,
so
that's not a moving target.
He can outrun a car.
To Danny Glover's credit, too, he's a really good shot as long as he cracks his neck right beforehand.
Gosh. And then also in this one, so by the time, fast forwarding a little bit, Riggs gets on the boat, they also establish that he has a laser,
a scope,
Oh yeah,
on his
that's
gun.
a big feature.
And he uses it
of this film.
He shoots it, and it ricochets off something off the ship, and shoots and gets the guy.
Well, and what is funny about that, and this is so nitpicky, and I do not care. I do not hold this against the movie. It's just funny because he he does the laser, and even though it's not on reflective surfaces, it bounces and shows where the bullet will travel. But that's not mirrors. He's not pointing them at mirrors. It's like rusted pipes. So it's not possible.
Mad.
But I don't care. Those sort of things don't bother me in movies.
I didn't understand why the movie felt like adding a new toy. Because I'm like, we don't have an action figure lineup for Lethal Weapon, so why do we need to have a new one?
No, it's different than in the last movie they showed us these armor-piercing bullets that the bad guys had, and it's that kind of makes sense because it's kind of upping our stakes a little bit.
Yeah.
But this movie, it's just here's our new toy, and it's
watch out, bad guys!
I got a laser.
These bullets can bounce.
Hey guys, I thought the laser was cool.
Well, I'm never not excited when I see a laser in a movie. So you bring up a good point, Dan.
Right? It's and also, just like when Picard becomes a Borg, there's the opportunity to flash the laser straight into the lens of the camera just temporarily, and he does that when he's searching up the stairs for Jet Li. And I love when they do that in movies. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Except I caught a 3D showing of it one time, and I couldn't see for a week after that. It just...
Oh, man, it damaged my corneas.
It hurt. Yeah. I had to get up and get the manager. He gave me a free showing, though, so I got to go back and see it again.
And did it happen again?
I closed my eyes, squinted.
Yeah, you just knew when to close your eyes.
So this cargo ship crashes, and there's a big fight, and we find out that there are all these immigrants, Chinese immigrants there, and there's bad guys, and then there's kind of this random. I was a little confused by this because we get introduced to Chris Rock, and he's really upset about this guy who was murdered on the beach, I think separate of the freight.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't quite piece together what was happening with that.
I thought he got killed on the boat by the people he worked for.
I think he was on the beach and he got killed. I'm not positive though. It was very unclear.
Either way, it's a nameless casualty, and he is a bleeding heart.
Yeah.
He's cussing up a storm for him, and you have to wonder if he does that for every dead person he sees on the job, which I assume is a lot. So
he can't be a very good police officer if this is how he's still behaving. This is day one kind of behavior. You got to be
psychological
you must
training.
Be tempered by now.
If you had an EMT and they showed up and they're like, blood! Ah! I can't handle this.
Exactly.
I'm gonna puke.
Rather than helping him, they were just God damn it, this guy is injured. Oh, this makes me so mad. People getting injured all the time.
Oh man.
I want to say that it's setting up the character because he goes on a spiel about how his upbringing in the car and how dangerous it was in the bad neighborhood, always laying on the floor, nose to nose with the family beagle, because of all the bullets. It makes you wonder if like they're making a character choice, but I think I'm giving too much credit to the movie. I just think they wanted him to just go off.
Yeah,
like
they wanted him to use his big eyes.
As we mentioned on our show, dangerously close to the exact same type of speech he gives in Beverly Hills Ninja when he talks about like growing up, and he's just like, you know, like he's always ass kicked as a kid, like how he's afraid. It's same type of
always running.
Always running.
He talks
always
about,
running.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you guys big Beverly Hills Ninja fans?
I don't think I've ever seen it. That's the Chris Farley movie, right?
It's a you can call it a movie, I guess. Yeah.
I've almost pulled the trigger several times, and then I kept scrolling.
Don't.
It's okay. I think it's okay. You had to be there.
Yeah,
That's it. You had to be there.
One thing that I will praise on this movie, though, I just thought it was a great line, which would be great to use when you're in arguments, is when Danny Glover's really upset that all the immigrants are going to be taken away and sent back to China, and he's like, "Well, this is so lame," and this white guy's like, "Well, they don't belong here, and we belong here," and he says, "Oh, I guess your parents were Native American."
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Touche.
That's pretty sweet. I like that.
That was Richard Reel's cameo, wasn't it? That's the actor, the big bristly mustache guy. Who is in one of those guys, actors. Yeah.
Micah, I thought you were going to say that a great thing that Danny Glover says to say in an argument would be "go spit."
hey, that's great too.
No, I think him saying that the Native American thing is like, one jerk could argue it's didactic, but that guy, like the dude, Richard Reel, was being a jerk.
Yeah.
He needed to be put in his place, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to keep in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So then we find, well, I mean, do we want to talk more about Butters before we move on to Lorna and
Yeah, one of my favorite South Park characters and one of my least favorite Lethal Weapon characters.
No, I just sorry. I could speculate why he's in it, but then I'd be wasting all of our time. So that's all. Why he's just there because he was hot, right? Like there was the Chris Rock show on HBO, and he was just a household name by then.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this was. I mean, I said I'd have to shoehorn it in as much as possible. This is before the dreaded slap. Now he'd really have some heat if he was in Lethal Weapon 5, and people could keep walking up to him like, "Hey, keep your wife's name out of my mouth," you know, or your mouth.
Your wife's name.
Keep your wife's name out of my mouth. I'm gonna slap you. That would still. I mean, we're in Oscar season, and we can just dream of something that exciting happening again. That was so fun. I know. There's been a lot of discussion about it and stuff, but I've landed on that was fun to watch. That was TV, baby. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Just us all sitting there, just being like,
Why is no one talking? How come we can't hear anybody?
how come it's quiet? And then Grayson grabbing his phone immediately and finding like some Chinese website that has it airing, like so we can see what he said.
Yeah.
The slap heard around the world. All right.
That's right.
So I do love the bit that they never get his name right. I do think that's a fun bit.
Oh yeah, Biscuits. Like he calls them. I just remember Biscuits.
I think that's all I remember too.
I get really tired of these jokes when it's just like it literally becomes at a certain point you as the audience member are going through a list of how many other different ways could they mess it up and seeing if they get, but they're like, they forgot this one.
Yep.
My mind didn't go there. I just let it wash over me. I guess I'm the one that likes this movie the most, it sounds like.
Oh man. So
I'm picking on it just because for no reason at all. I still have nostalgia for it because we were there.
Well, so do you guys think this? Do you genuinely is this a nostalgia cloud, or do you have like a Batman v Superman take on why this movie is good?
No, I don't have any. I can't defend the movie. I can only defend 12-year-old Jared thought it was good.
Okay.
It's exciting going to an R-rated movie. It's a safe R-rated movie too. I enjoy a good safe R-rated movie that I know if I like when Jack turns 10 to 12, I could be like, "You're fine. You've heard me say these words many times, and
it's time for Lethal
nothing
Weapon
else you have
4.
to be afraid of." Yeah, I don't have to shield you from anything else.
Well, other than the Chinese underground making their own.
Oh yeah, the Chinese triads.
currency, making their own money. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that
I don't
didn't
want
scare
Jack.
you as a 12-year-old. I don't know.
I don't want him to
Right.
get the idea of counterfeiting. Jack gets some crazy ideas sometimes, and he sees things in movies. They're
Yeah.
impressionable. Those kids.
What about you, Dan?
I feel the same way, and I was a couple of years younger, so it was even more special for me to see an R-rated movie. And watching it now, I'm entertained by it, but I think it's like the 10-year-old me who's really enjoying it.
So here's a question for the room. Are you the type of nostalgia person where you watch something you loved as a kid, and if it is, like objectively bad, does that hit you, or are you able to let it go? Are you able to be like, nah, I still like it just as much as I did, or maybe just slightly lower, but I still love it. It doesn't matter what people say.
Well, famously, you hate the Jim Carrey The Grinch, and I love that movie.
Are
But
you saying it's
also-
objectively bad?
No, I am saying though that I genuinely think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie. That's the first one that came to mind.
Yeah.
because we disagree.
I definitely feel that way. In fact, I just a few days ago, because my wife had never seen Blues Brothers 2000, as Jer mentioned, and we watched the first 10 minutes, and I said, nope, we are watching something else. And as a kid, I really enjoyed that movie. Like, it was a fun experience as a kid. When I was watching it now, I'm like, 2 hours and like 17 minutes.
man.
And it's like, I know the first
Did
one's
Judd
long,
Apatow
but this one
direct it?
feels it just feels long. I was just like, no, this isn't funny. It just sucks. Like, it just yeah. So there's certain movies like that, and then a lot of them do get a pass because like I grew up on them, But I can objectively say certain movies from my childhood just blow, like Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah, it's a case by case basis. I remember, there's things that I know and always knew this isn't very good, but I love it, and then there's things that you can watch and you go, that doesn't do it for me anymore. Like I remember when the TV show Dinosaurs hit DVD. I don't know if you ever saw Dinosaurs as kids. I was like, I loved Dinosaurs as a kid. And then I got the DVDs and I watched like a couple episodes and I was like, ooh, okay.
No.
I'm not
That's
not that into it anymore.
That's not the mama, right?
Yeah.
My fear is that the Simpsons are going to end up like that in like 30 years.
Oh, but classic
People are gonna
Simpsons
be
are
like,
classic. Those will still work.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
Jer,
for most
the
part.
Dinosaurs was just as biting and satirical as the Simpsons.
Jer, Dinosaurs was the Simpsons, but dinosaur.
Well, I feel like
It was just as good.
what
No,
what you're
it
saying,
was
Dan,
not.
is the difference is not so much a nostalgia thing. It's like, that's kind of more like, can the viewer transport themselves? I feel like, when you watch a 60s action movie, if your expectation is Michael Bay, like that's the wrong way to watch
that's on
it.
you.
So if you're watching The
Right,
Simpsons
right.
and well, I mean, they're still around, so I guess that's maybe not the best example, but in, like 30, 40 years, if you're watching that and you're not trying to contextualize it, then you won't think it's funny.
Like, well, here I'll go.
I just feel like kids are just gonna your kids, or kids, let's say, are just gonna be like, what is this? These yellow.
Like I can watch this. There's this other cartoon that we've never heard of because it's in the future. Like this is way better and more satirical.
Yeah.
But that's a slag against the Simpsons. Which why am I doing that? Like because I love the Simpsons. So I'm gonna back up. Jer, what were you saying?
I was
I'm
just
sorry.
an example on a bigger scale is like Batman '89. I doesn't really do it for me. Like, and I admittedly have never been the biggest fan of it, but I used to hold it up, and then if I were to watch it now, I'd kind of be like, okay, like it doesn't work for me the same way that it used to. Whereas Batman Returns, because I have a much more nostalgic memory of being in the theater to see it, I don't care if I ever watch that movie and I go, oh, this isn't very good. I'll be like, I was there when I was 7, like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on to that memory.
So what memory, dear listener, will you hold on to when it comes to Lethal Weapon 4?
Is the next part when he comes home to Lorna
Yep.
and all they're doing is yelling at each other and she's just eating.
Uh-huh.
And I know like she's really pregnant, so she's eating a lot. I get it. But man, it was like fingernails on a chalkboard.
Yeah. As I'm
Poor
eating a
Rene
cough drop.
Russo.
Yeah. Oh, I hate.
I
Did
mean,
you say poor Rene Russo, Jer?
yeah, she has nothing to do in this movie, and except like kick one person behind a door. That's all she's got is one, and it's blown in the trailer. You see it. So you're watching this and you're like, oh, cool. Rene Russo getting in the action, and she looks like she's pregnant too. That's cool. A pregnant chick getting into the action in 1998. You don't think about the health concerns of the baby yet. But then she's got nothing to do in the movie.
Nope. I read that scene when she comes out and Jet Li kicks her in the face, that she was so scared to film it that she wouldn't come out of the kitchen, like on the first take, because she was so scared to get kicked in the face.
That's so fun. Well, tell us the other thing you read about Jet Li.
I also read that Jet Li moved too fast, and they constantly were telling him to slow down because the cameras could not pick up all of his punches.
That's right.
You're going too fast.
That's insane. He did. I was watching a feature out of interviews with all the actors. There's Joe Pesci talking about his process when it comes to playing Leo. Like seriously, he's like, I was kind of modeling it after the kids, you know. That's where okay, because apparently he went to Disney World and he asked like a kid where Fantasy World or Land is, whatever that park is, and the kid, he's like, I noticed all the kids, they just kept going, okay. It's like, so I took that, you know, I just thought I'd borrow that, and then by 3 I got the earring, I got the blonde hair, you know, I think the kids like that. So basically his whole character is just to appeal to whatever the current young generation is.
Man.
Hence the whatever in this one, because in the featurette, he's like, you know, the kids today, they're going talk to the hand because the face don't want to hear it.
Oh, man.
It was such a simpler, you know, time in 1998.
I was so charmed to hear him refer to himself as Da Bomb. It's like, when was the last time someone referred to themselves as Da Bomb?
Did he said that in the featurette?
This guy will tell you, I'm the bomb. You don't want to be the bomb anymore.
He also, now that you mentioned it, he was like, you know, the kids are saying the bomb, and if something's really cool, they say that's an atomic bomb, you know. But going like Jet Li, they interviewed him, and he's like, I did 25 movies in China, right? I think he comes from China, right?
Jet Li.
China. Yeah, I mean,
I thought you were still talking about Joe Pesci.
Safe to say,
I'll double check.
Joe Pesci is one of our most beloved Chinese actors. But no, Jet Li. But he said I did 25 movies.
Chinese-born Singaporean martial artist.
He did 25 movies as a hero. This is his first as a villain too. I thought that was interesting. I think he's really great. Just menacing by not just being stoic throughout the movie.
It feels like he's in a different movie.
Yeah.
One that
he's in a better movie, I think.
A better movie. I also saw that they offered it to Jackie Chan, but he doesn't do bad guys.
Who would want to see Jackie Chan in this role anyway? Like, no, that's a bad call.
Yeah.
But think about this. You have Chris Rock, you have Danny Glover, you have Mel Gibson, you have Joe Pesci, and then you add Jackie Chan, and they're all being comedic. Come on.
No, because they wouldn't let Jackie Chan. They wouldn't give him like a 15-minute scene of him just going and doing what he wants, martial arts wise.
Yeah.
You know they wouldn't.
Yeah, they wouldn't. I mean, Jet Li hardly has anything to do in this movie.
Yeah. Except have that ponytail.
He strangles a guy with his rosary wire thing, his bead wire. And he really doesn't, except he's like I think the third act fight, and I know I'm jumping ahead.
Please.
But that is for a true lethal weaponer, a real weapon head, if you will. That third act is the closest thing you're going to get to the grit of the first couple movies. That third act fight scene is so visceral and
it's
dangerous
pretty good.
And tense. I'm into it. I think you can match that up with any sequence from 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good, and you know that I mean I love we're skipping ahead here. I love in that scene when they're like, oh, we could just go away, we could just chase him another day, and then they turn around and they're like, all right, let's do this.
Let's ask him.
Yeah.
Like he's like, how do you think he took apart that gun so fast? He's like, all right. And then they hesitate for a while. They go back. Yep. He's like, let's go ask him. I love that.
I mean,
too.
that's
it's so
great.
fucking tense. You can make a meal of like the preamble before these fights. You know. I think of Phantom Menace. I actually think of that fight at the end when they get separated by the beams and he's meditating.
Oh, yeah.
And Maul's just pacing. He's like waiting to fucking destroy him. I love moments like that in movies, man. Yeah.
Give us some sweet tension. Tension like, is this Butters guy gay or not? That's tension.
Gay panic in this movie.
It's 1998. That is yeah. We guys,
oh man, watch out!
We're all still scared of those gays in 1998.
Friends is on the air. If there's two things I hate, it's lesbians, gay people, and fat people. Because Friends.
It is the 90s. How dare you be anything but white and beautiful and straight?
Yeah, that's it was a wild plot point in this movie.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't chuckle at first, because I liked seeing Danny Glover so uncomfortable. I think he plays that very funny.
But by that point we know that that's his daughter's son-in-law.
Yeah.
And I was giving the movie more credit than it deserves by going like, well, he's like a married man, and so he's uncomfortable that way.
Hold on, isn't it messed up? I get that. Like he doesn't want his daughter dating a cop. I understand that.
Yeah.
But isn't it messed up that she's just gonna get married because this guy's a cop and not tell her dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's messed up.
It's almost like they wrote that at the end.
Especially when
and the screenwriter didn't know Chris Rock was in the movie.
Well, especially when they established that this family's so tight knit. Okay, he would disapprove, but I think they would figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. Lame.
Can we go? I know I'm going back to the opening scene. But there's a line that Murtaugh says that I think is funny when he finds out he's going to be a grandfather.
Yeah.
He says, they're going to ask me to be a granddaddy? It's like, I don't think that's how it works. I think they tell you you're going to be a granddaddy, and that's how it works. Yeah. But yeah, he like asks that question to Riggs. I was like, that's very weird. There, like Murtaugh, like throughout the series, he has some weird lines. Like in the first one, he says, "Put it in your mouth. The bullet might go through your ear, go off the other way, and not kill you." Like, what the hell are you talking about, Roger? Like, he's kind of crazy. Like
he's just flat out. He's pretty stupid in this movie.
Yeah,
like he's honest to God stupid at times.
Well, I mean, if we kind of move forward, speaking to the stupidity of their investigation, they're like, hey, there were Chinese people. Hey, I know a Chinese guy, Uncle Benny. He has a Chinese restaurant. So that's how I know he's connected to this crime.
Well, I think they did say that he's been wrapped up in crime before. I think they did do that.
They don't even give us much.
No, they don't. They don't.
So he just...
Oh my gosh, I'm just now remembering the scene at the dentist. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, how could you forget? Joe Pesci's screaming, and then it intercuts with them high on nitrous oxide,
also
and
screaming.
Then they,
oh my gosh!
Jordan was so angry during that sequence.
I was so angry. I think that was the scene that was like, maybe we just don't do this anymore.
You were like, I think you should leave. You were in your big outfit. I don't even want to be around anymore.
It's weird to watch now, considering like you hear people doing nitrous as more of like a recreational thing. Yeah, this movie implanted that idea in everybody. Look how much fun they have.
Well,
this movie irresponsible.
This movie does the classic thing that like a lot of sequels do. Speaking of film franchises and stuff, where they're like, you love these characters so much, we're just gonna put them in situations that have nothing to do with anything, so they can just riff.
I mean, that was the third movie.
That was 100%. The third movie, and in this movie, they're doing that as well. They're at the dentist office, and they're just riffing. And then there's, like, the whole FU within the...
drive-through.
With the cell phone. Where they're just going back for, like, 5 minutes. I mean, at least it seemed like that. And it's like, what is going on? It was funny the first time, kind of.
Yeah.
No, it was funny the first time. But they reprise it in 3, and then they really hit it hard in 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what
Agreed.
this whole movie is. It's just kind of a collection of scenes.
That was the third movie. This one had a little bit more of a plot.
Yeah, it did.
To me.
But yeah, they break into Uncle Benny's. They vandalize his restaurant, which I think would be perhaps something that they could be go to court for.
Go to court for.
No, not Murtaugh and Riggs.
They're invincible.
They're above the law. Yeah.
They're made captains. Is it in this movie they're made captains?
You fail
Yep,
upward when you're Murtaugh and Riggs.
Talk about undeveloped subplot, like or underdeveloped, is them getting promoted. They do nothing with that in this movie.
Unless it's just the idea of like the screenwriters are like, look, we don't have time in the script for them to do any detective work, so make them captains so they don't have to, unless it's by choice because they just want to fight somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the real reason they're really even getting into this stuff is because Murtaugh brings home that family. And they're like, he's learning why they're here, why they came to America. They have a family member who's here who they want to meet. And that's how they...
It becomes very personal for Murtaugh because he invests in one of the older gentleman that he has a toast with. Bread, late at night in his living room. So like after he dies, it becomes definitely like this personal vendetta for him.
Would you say perhaps this time it's personal?
I would, actually. Now that you mention it.
Cool.
What did you guys think of how they kill people by ramming their cars from behind when there's a train coming and they get T-boned by the trains?
It was,
apparently it was essentially foolproof for a while. I mean,
this was I would do terrible in a situation like this because when that happened the first two times, the guys are hitting the brakes and I'm like, oh man, there's just nothing you can do. And then when they do it to Riggs and Murtaugh, he just hits the gas. And I was like, oh yeah, you could just hit the gas and you'd be fine.
That's what you could do.
Like, hell yeah, okay.
They're fighting with the other car for several seconds.
Yeah.
Like maybe a minute.
Yeah, the train's not that close,
Yeah.
So
those little gates? They're not that heavy. Turns out
I can't cross it. It says I'm not supposed to.
The lights are dinging.
Let's see.
So
what happens next?
Jet Li
goes to their house for some reason.
For that Benny guy, but he's really doing his own thing where he's trying to get his brother / other people, because at some point in the movie we go to China and we're like in a prison and they have files of people and they're like, you get in this truck, and then those people are taken to America and then Jet Li finally beats up with them, and I have not a clue what's happening, but he's really happy to see him.
I couldn't track what was happening in this scene and why they came over or anything. I had no idea what was happening.
Because think of it like, okay, they're doing they're committing crimes.
They're doing crimes.
They're doing crimes. Is it like 3 Chinese families or something? Or like clans?
The forefathers.
The forefathers.
Yeah.
So they're coming here and they're doing things on American soil, but it almost feels like movie sense. It's not affecting the American people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's just so underground. I'm confused.
I'm sorry. I wish I could help you. I really don't know.
It's the idea that they can counterfeit in the U.S. and then bring it back, but in that case, it's still counterfeit money. So I don't understand what the plot of this film is.
Yeah,
you know what it is?
Plot? If someone were to map it out, I'd be like,
We have better dryers for drying the wet ink on the.
Oh, that's what it is.
That's
true. They came for the dryers.
Simple but important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
China
Poker
famously,
chips are available at every drugstore.
China famously hasn't invented a lot of stuff over the course of history. They haven't caught up to having something like that,
Yeah, I know. Pick it up, guys. Seriously.
we were just watching the Office where Michael discovers that China is ahead. Do you guys remember that? And I hadn't seen it in years, and that's so good, so funny.
Man, I'm watching select episodes No, I don't want to. No, now I'm going to go down an Office rabbit hole. I got to shut up. No.
Now that's something
Sorry.
with the mockumentary style and all that. I don't know if that could definitely be something where like our kids grow up and they just go, I don't get this at all.
Oh, you think
it's so specific.
Ooh. That's interesting.
But The Office has.
Could be.
It's lasted a good 10 years plus now.
Wait, it's not the only one now, too.
Oh, that's true. They keep developing
Parks
it.
and Rec,
and Abbott Elementary and yeah,
Modern Family
What We Do in
even
the
kind of
Shadows.
does it.
Well, yeah, never mind.
we try with our little movies,
That's true.
So I hope there's an audience for them in the
intervention.
future.
Yeah.
And a golden apron.
Yeah.
I heard kind of an interesting take on that as you as comedians and director and actor in this. You might have something to say here that sitcoms used to have the canned audience so that you would like trigger the people on when to laugh. And this person said that didn't go away. It just translated to mockumentaries where you're still, even though it's not canned laughter, because of the way it's set up, you're told like, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Jim looking at the camera.
That's a joke. And I thought that's kind of interesting. It like developed into a different format.
I
Do you agree with that?
As someone who's now editing his second mockumentary feature, I can say that there are definitely tricks you can employ to insinuate a joke. For me, in intervention, I was all about contradictions. If you could cut to something, and that is the trick, I think, in a lot of mockumentaries. They say something, you cut, there's a contradictory thing. But like The Simpsons do it all the time too. Like, take notice next time you watch an episode of Simpsons, someone is setting themselves up for that same joke. I would argue it's just mockumentaries maybe make it a little more obvious with their cuts and stuff.
Okay.
But that's what I would say. I have to defend the mockumentary. I have to.
You have to.
It's a great
my own shit here.
No, once you guys said stuff, I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally wrong. I think The Office will probably hold up.
It's the pink eye.
And they're closer than ever to rebooting it. So we'll see.
Right.
Gonna be around for a while. But although I will also put money down right now that if The Office does eventually get rebooted, that will also be the thing that kills the mockumentary genre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it'll be something that people will not want.
Yeah.
Will not be well received, and people will just be like, "We're tired of this."
Yeah. My hope is, the last I heard is that Greg Daniels has been like, greenlit to work on something, and people are like, oh, are you going to bring back the cast and stuff? And he said, no, it would be this would be a new thing. My guess and understanding is like, a different Office with different
There's
characters.
only one writer I know who does that well, and that's Noah Hawley. So if Noah Hawley from Fargo wants to go and do an Office spinoff, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's not successful how it usually.
The only way that the Office reboot would and possibly will be successful is if you, in my opinion, if you stick to that original Office. Everyone else is gone but Rainn Wilson. Like, Rainn Wilson has to be the main.
Oh, sure. Okay,
he has to be the boss.
Yeah.
Because Dwight would not leave Dunder Mifflin, but everyone else would have cycled through by now.
So you're going for a Deep Space Nine Worf situation, I think, kind of like he's the Worf.
I'm not
Deep
going
Space
for that.
Nine.
I'm just saying that's the only way I think that it will be successful is if you have,
to put it in Trek terms.
You need to have that anchor there. Otherwise, people are just gonna. I don't think people are gonna connect.
I'm not disagreeing. I think that's interesting, actually, to give that through line to the original series. But
and he's the only one
I like about. You know what I like about Lethal Weapon, though?
Well, and this is the pin on it, but the real trick is to, do just the same format, which they've done. Parks and Rec, and then now Abbott Elementary, where it's like different characters, different setup. It's the same like
workplace comedy.
Yeah, it's like the same type of jokes and stuff, but I think that's just how you do it. You just do another thing like that. Just have them make a new one.
My final thing about the faux documentary series is that as series, they don't make sense to me. Like why, the idea of The Office being a paper company is a joke. And then you go from that to all these other things that use that format. And it's like, why is anyone making a show about this?
Right.
And I think in a mockumentary film, and this is not just because we've made them, it just something about a film is so singular that it would make sense. Like, okay, some director is so interested in this subject that they would make a film.
That's true.
But for a network or something to commit to a series doesn't make sense to me. Even if you are just watching the fictitious, everyday filming of a future thing, it just doesn't make sense to me most of the time why they would do that.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
Yeah,
a cooking one would be interesting. Someone should do a movie about that, right?
I always thought if Christopher Guest doesn't make one, I'll make one. We did.
There we go.
And it's coming this year. Yeah.
Okay, so Jet Li comes to their house for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he takes the immigrants.
Oh, okay. It burns the house down.
Yes.
That's right.
And then we have something I'm going to praise this movie on. I think that this is a genuinely innovative action sequence that's very cool. And this is the freeway manufactured home fight sequence.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This
that
to
is,
me is the price of admission alone, and it gives this movie a pass to me because I think it's actually a fantastic action sequence. And so for the listener, there's a manufactured home on the road, and Riggs, like, at some point is able to get into it, and he's fighting a guy. So you're in a house that's moving on the freeway. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And my final Lethal Weapon memory is for each. You'll hear each movie. I've had a very distinct memory about watching it, and different things that have happened about it. This one was I had friends over, and of course, had they all seen Lethal Weapon 1, 2, and 3? Probably not. But Micah was on 4, so he was going to force everyone to watch 4.
Fun guy.
So we took these like chairs. That is like lawn chairs that have you've seen them that you can lay all the way flat, and we grabbed sleeping bags, and we went outside under the stars in Eagle Point and grabbed the TV and put it on the
you did
the front driveway. My parents had property, so it wasn't like the front driveway and then a street. Sit there, put on Lethal Weapon 4. And watched it outside.
That sounds fun.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I think it was like Dylan and Shane. And maybe that was it.
Okay.
And I think we fell asleep.
Wow, that's holding hands?
Yeah.
No, it sounds great. That's the way to watch it, right? Like with friends and like
full screen, of course.
Not with one foot out the door, like let's at any moment we could turn this off.
Yeah. Love that.
No, it's great.
I want to jump back real quick to the freeway sequence, because I know I talked about it on our show in the past, probably more than once, but for the sake of it, like the most important detail about that scene to me is the fact that they drive through an office building.
Yes, they do.
And out the other side.
They do the Furious 7 James Wan jump. And this is in the Fast and Furious movie.
I have said this since I saw this. I no longer have the interest of making it myself. I always said someday I'm going to make this movie, but I just want to see it now. A movie that starts with this type of action sequence. They drive through the building. The car leaves the building. And we stay with the people in the office who are like, what the fuck just happened? A car drove through our building.
I would love that.
And then the original idea was that it'd be about guys who just find themselves constantly in like background action sequences would be happening in the background of their movie. And every now and then they intersect with those things. But it's literally just, I want to see somebody drive through a building and you think that we're going to follow it because this is the opening action sequence, like in Lethal Weapon 2, where they're driving around in the car and you're immediately thrown into it. It's just like if they started with this sequence.
You think those are your characters and everything.
And then they leave and then you're like, wait, no, this is where we're staying.
And then it turns into Office Space.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've always had this idea, and Dan, maybe you can make it a reality. It would be a short. And I'm just kidding. It's annoying when people tell you to make art.
No. Let me hear it.
But the idea is that it's like an insurance man, and he works in like Manhattan in like Marvel, and there's like superhero insurance. I don't know how to go further than that, but he's kind of like Mr. Incredible, where he's super depressed because they just have to keep on losing money because the city just gets destroyed all the time. I don't know how that
Mr.
works,
Incredible,
but
is that a character? Wait, what? Oh, from The Incredibles?
when he's think a guy like that that's like, oh, I hate that I'm here, and then another schlub walks in and they're like, hey, the Human Torch flew through my place and burned down all my clothes, and then it's like, all right, let's put out another policy,
Yeah.
A claims adjuster for superheroes. yeah, that's what was it? What was the Tudyk show that they did on NBC?
Powerless.
Was that, Jared, what was that about?
That was basically the idea that Micah is describing. I'm pretty sure that's the exact.
Oh my God.
Actually, that's cool.
It's so novel. There's so many ideas that I've come up with over the years where I'm like, if somebody doesn't make this, like it seems like such a great concept. Like somebody's got to make this, and then eventually they do. Like it happens a lot, and then sometimes I get mad, and sometimes I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
So like.
It's literally what you said.
It's not what I would never would have created it, so I'm glad that it's out there. What is
it's got Vanessa Hudgens. What more could you want?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's got a Danny Pudi.
Oh wow. So what? Read the plot there.
Follows the staff of an insurance company specializing in products to protect defenseless bystanders from the collateral damage of superheroes and supervillains.
How many episodes we got?
We have 13.
13.
Oh wow.
I don't remember it lasting a full 13.
I mean, it does to me feel like a short that like Marvel puts before a movie or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be
Well,
fun.
yeah,
Not that they do that.
Maybe that's how to do it.
Like obviously, it's a strong enough concept on paper that they greenlit the series. The problem that I remember with it is that they lost faith in the basic concept of it, and they tried to pepper in more specific DC things.
Oh no!
Whereas it needed to either be that all along, or it needed to exist completely separately, and they kind of tried to have their cake and eat it too, and it didn't. Yeah, it didn't work out. I did watch it though, because I was rooting for the concept too.
Yeah.
When was
great.
this?
2016, I think.
And this was it was like a DC show?
It was on NBC. Yeah.
Yeah, DC.
Okay, so it's probably there's probably like a
from
comic
DC.
book, I bet.
Did
It
you
was
hear
and
that?
Alan
The first
Tudyk.
comedy.
Oh, okay.
Alan Tudyk played a guy who they later rewrote to be Bruce Wayne's cousin, who was like jealous of the fact that he was living in Bruce's shadow. It was it could have been a more interesting show, and then they just lost faith in it, like I said.
Man.
I get too obsessed with connecting stuff.
Yeah.
So
Lethal Weapon.
I mean, I wrote go to showdown and show counterfeit. I mean,
Yeah.
It's after the freeway chase, which was apparently a Fred Decker contribution, Shane Black's writing partner.
Okay.
Or not the whole chase, but the building, the furious of it all, going through the building and out the other end. I guess that was a Fred Decker contribution, because there's so many writers on this thing.
Yeah.
But all I remember after this really is getting to your scene that you're in your notes. Is there anything else?
Not really.
Just that,
we find out the wife is the smut
in the scene,
novelist.
though, the what?
Oh yeah.
Huh?
We find out
that undercooked thing.
that Murtaugh's wife is the smut novelist, and that's why he has all the money, not because he's on
gosh,
the
it
take.
was so dumb that this whole movie they're like, he spends too much money. We think he's stealing from the police. Oh, brother. But
so many ideas. Yeah.
in this scene, the four fathers bros are hanging out in the warehouse having their own private meeting away from anybody else.
Yeah.
And then the two dudes who had actually been investigating this, including Murtaugh and Riggs, just mosey on up here.
They just drive
unprotected, not even. They're just like, "Hey, we're here. We catch ya. You guys are bad guys. We're good guys. Let's shoot it out."
I like the idea of it, but it doesn't really make sense that they wouldn't get killed before they got to that point.
Yeah, and then
but
I think
I do like that they're
Mel
like, "Hey,
does
this guy's turning on you."
Not great, like Chinese voice that was very cringy.
Oh yeah, I wrote me racist.
Oh yeah.
Me racist.
I don't know why I wrote me racist, but someone who just watched
Me
the movie.
racist.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I meant to say Mel racist, but I didn't hit the L.
Me racist.
Oh, this is getting out of hand, guys. Yeah, and then they fight, and then what's his name? Joe Pesci pontificates about Froggy for a while.
Oh my gosh, that was
Oh my god, the fact that they have the nerve to make us take this even half serious.
I know.
Joe Pesci delivering this speech is.
Oh my gosh.
It's
The
insulting.
only, like I said, it really works for 10-year-olds. Like, as a 10-year-old, I was like, this is really getting to
Shed
me
a tear
here,
for
you know?
Froggy.
Yeah, like, but now as an adult, you're like, this is ridiculous.
Wait,
Like,
honestly, as an adult, it plays more like the type of story that someone would say in a mockumentary like interview.
Yeah.
You know, like they
you're
would
right.
tell
Yeah,
the story,
yeah.
like, and you can tell that they're making it up as they go. Like, he sounds like he's making it up as he goes along about Froggy and skidding
you
over him
guys-
with his back tire. It's disgusting.
well, Jer, did you guys know his time frame and salary on this movie?
1 week, right?
No, 3 weeks, $1 million a week.
Oh, good for you, Joe. Good for you.
Good for Joe Pesci. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Leo gets. Yeah.
He's the bomb in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And then
I
they
got
have their
nothing
babies.
more to
they have their
say.
babies on the same time, same day. They're running.
yeah.
They it seems like they're shooting in a hospital, but they can't get this lady into a room. They're just whipping around the hallways, and they get this guy, this rabbi, to marry them.
yeah, that's sort of funny.
Yeah.
Because she wants to get married before she has the baby. That's
Yeah.
her big thing. And so they
Yep.
they get a cup of a guy's piss to stomp on, like at a like I guess they're Jewish.
Mazel tov, yeah.
Yeah. And the guy yells at him. He's like, "Get back here! It took me all day to fill this up, you little son of a bitch!" Like that was kind of funny. But like, it's like, why is all this happening?
Yeah.
And then
I know.
before you could even piece together, like really catch up, they go, "No, we're family," and then it ends. And like they do the picture, and you hear, "Why can't we be friends?"
This should have been like
It's
like
like-
when the credits were rolling or something. Like the movie ended. Let us leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please.
yeah. Then they give us a big photo montage of all like the memories they had shooting these movies.
Yeah, as soon as
and
that
what a
started,
family
I just
they
was
are.
like, okay, see you, Micah. I'm going to
Yeah,
bed.
Jordan like started brushing her teeth immediately.
Which, and it makes it so much more ridiculous to think that there's going to be potentially a Lethal Weapon 5 when you're like, look at the victory lap you just took at the end of the
know,
last one.
I
Now you're
know.
just going to throw another one in there.
Oh, this is that hilarious thing that like movies that ended or series that ended in the 90s did. Because like Rocky does that. I think Rambo does that. They just would do this with these movies. They'd show all these pictures or like remind you of the other stuff, and then we're making another one.
As if the
And it always
studios
feels so
back
strange.
then, like the studios back then were more like, all right, we'll do it one more time. And then now they're like, oh no, absolutely not.
Yeah, let's bring back Harrison Ford again. Do you think they'll make another one before he dies?
Another Indiana Jones.
They got to make a trilogy
It'll
of
be-
Old Man Jones, right?
Hopefully it'll all be AI and just his voice, just voicing the computer-generated Indiana Jones. That's what I'm hoping for, personally.
I think we all are, aren't we?
As my
Right.
dad would, well, does he lose an eye in Dial of Destiny?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking anyone who's seen Dial
I
of
haven't
Destiny.
seen it.
Do you want me to spoil Dial of Destiny?
Just if he loses an eye in the movie.
That's a major spoiler that he doesn't lose an eye, Jer. A major spoiler.
I'm gonna say all I was gonna say is that based on that, our father would answer, "Well, they got to make another one because he hasn't lost his eye yet." Because in the young Indiana Jones, the old series, there's an episode or something like that where old man Indiana Jones comes back and it's just played by some random old guy
What?
who's got a fedora on and an eye patch, and you're like, "What happened to Indiana Jones?" But my
I was
dad
like,
would have been
Jer-
like so committed to that canon that he'd be like, "How come he didn't lose the eye yet?"
I was like, what the hell are you? Why are you asking about eye loss, Jer? Like, how is that canon in Indiana Jones? Apparently it is.
If
See,
you would
I
have
thought-
given a moment.
I thought this was your dad's
like-
rubric for whether they'll make a sequel. Is he's like,
Just in general.
But look, if they haven't lost an eye,
then they can
Yeah.
make another one.
Yeah.
As long
You
as they
really
got two
feel like-
eyes, you can make another sequel.
That's wow, Dad.
But the minute they lose one, it's in the can, no more.
What if that was like
Yeah.
as Earth, like
I'm
like
done.
if aliens came to Earth, that's something they learned about us. As they're doing all their research.
They find out the eye rule.
That's so specific and weird.
The rule of eyes.
do you guys know why there are 12
Yeah.
Land of Before Time movies? Because no one lost an eye yet. They're still going.
Thor. That's why they should have ended at Ragnarok.
Oh my gosh.
That's the
This is
mistake.
really
That's why
good
everyone
movie.
rejects it.
Wait, are you saying
Because
like
that would mean as humans.
like aliens come down and that's what they understand about our culture?
They don't understand it. That's just something they learn about us.
Oh, I still don't get it, but it's hilarious.
What did you learn about the entertainment industry in the 21st century?
I mean,
Well,
doesn't Oedipus Rex blind himself? He can go back to the
Does he?
beginning.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's the genesis of storytelling, really.
Well,
Losing an eye.
I think we should end on that high note. Do you guys got anything else to say about Lethal Weapon?
yeah, they can keep going because no one's lost an eye in these movies yet. So, Lethal Weapon 5, bring it on.
I wouldn't mind if they made another one. I probably wouldn't love it. It's probably quality-wise, it probably wouldn't be great, but like the new Beverly Hills Cop. Like, yeah, all right, fine. If you guys want to do it, I'll watch it.
I'm telling you, that'll absolutely be a benchmark for this. Is if that does well, this movie,
Yeah, I think
Lethal Weapon 5 will get announced and have a release date like a week later.
I
think
think
you're
you're right.
right.
For sure.
you guys are still laughing about the.
Axel
eye
Foley
thing,
still
aren't
has
you?
an eye too. He's got both, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's true.
Well-
Maybe at the end of this one.
As far as I'm concerned, it's Lethal Weapon 3, Lethal Weapon 4.
You're ranking them. We haven't watched 5, 6, and 7 yet.
Oh, you're right. We'll have to do that on the episode tomorrow. I
Yeah.
forgot all
Yeah,
about
we can.
5, 6, and 7. How could I forget? It's weird that they're remaking 5.
You
But-
got 3 more to go, guys.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, so tune in next week, listeners. Next week we start Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Oh, you go right into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you guys have to plug? What's going on? You men,
we have
excuse me.
We have us boy men. We have a film coming out, and it's definitely coming out this year. It's called The Golden Apron, and it is in mockumentary format. I hope that doesn't rub your rhubarb the wrong way. But there's a trailer out there. If you go to youtube.com/@thegoldenapron, you can check it out there. We're around.
I'll put a link to that
uh,
trailer in the description, so folks, you can just
and-
scroll down.
Mr. McCaw does the main theme. You can listen to that on the Instagram, on the YouTube as well. So
It's there.
check it out. Yeah.
So excited.
I don't know if I told you, but when I made that theme, I sent it off to you, and then it's been a little while, but that I hadn't done much actual mixing at that point. And so when you said, "Hey, I'm posting it," I hadn't heard it in like a year. And so I was kind of like bracing myself a little bit, like, oh man, I hope I didn't do a bad job. And then I listened to it and I'm like, oh, this is great. I love it. So
Yeah.
I was very
yeah.
relieved.
No worries.
So-
yeah, no, it's always been a solid track, since day one, man. So yeah,
I'm proud of it. I can't wait to see the movie.
it's coming. I assure you. Probably by I got to do the third act. That's I still have to do the third act of the movie.
Editing
Like
wise?
everything else is everything
Okay.
else is like picture locked. I still have to do the big third act. So
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
that's where we're at. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeremy, that's
having
plug for you too.
Yeah, our show has you can still listen to our monthly 90 over 90s, which we are doing on our main feed, but otherwise, our podcast has come to an end. So I got nothing else to plug.
Okay. Thanks
The
for coming
Golden
on,
Apron,
guys.
whenever it comes out. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. You're our favorite guest, so it's always fun.
Whoa.
Yeah,
You're
come
saying that
on.
publicly?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, totally.
Aw. That's wow.
And
Aw.
for you,
Let them cry. Let them cry about it.
for you listeners, Jeremy's coming back pretty soon.
Speaking of BVS style hot takes on what could make a movie better, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I don't think you've told me this.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Okay.
And we'll get Dan. I like to keep you guys equal as your appearances, so I think Dan will owe us one.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it, right? What's down the line whenever that happens, right? I guess
let's talk off just in case.
All right. That's like a half teaser for you guys out there listening.
Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow for Lethal Weapon 5, 6, and 7.
See ya.
Bye.
Only babies get away with like, I'm not asleep. Like that's all that's all this is. They're also trying to say, we know, we're sorry.
Yeah, we're trying our best.
Oh,
just so you know.
she is a pretty good sleeper, but no baby is
Perfect.
well, she's perfect,
Okay,
but
yeah.
not in sleeping.